There is a wide world of black and white film stock options out there for film shooters across a variety of formats. Like a huge amount of black and white options. Like I wish we had even a fraction of the color options that we have for black and white. CATLABS is perhaps a name that many who have only scraped the surface of the black and white offerings in the film world are very aware of, but they offer two different black and white film stocks. These are CATLABS X80 and CATLABS X320. CATLABS X80 is an 80 ISO black and white film that's available only for medium format and large format sheet film. And CATLABS 320 is a 320 ISO black and white film stock that is only available for 35. So 80 ISO is not available in 35, and 320 is only available in 35. CATLABS 80 is what I'll be talking about today because a few weeks ago I got out with a roll and shot it in my Mamiya Universal, back when I was doing the video for the teeny tiny little light meter from Reveni Labs, which you can also check out if you're interested. But I want to talk specifically about CATLABS and go into more detail on the 80 ISO film that I shot. CATLABS has been around for a little while now, and they specialize in things like Jobo film processors, large format cameras and accessories, and just a general variety of film shooting offerings and goodness. They also launched their 80 ISO stuff back in 2019. And when it comes to talking about black and white stuff, especially black and white stocks from smaller manufacturers, it's always a bit of a question as to whether exactly it is like brand new stuff or a rebrand or where it's all kind of coming from. And we can't always know for sure, and there is a ton of rebranding that goes on in the film world, as I've talked about before, which also isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's just like a straight up rebrand of stuff, kind of like how Lomography's Berlin black and white film is probably very much just Orwo N74 rebranded, in which case you might be able to save some money and just buy Orwo film yourself instead of like the prices that come with Lomography stuff sometimes. Or it could be that a bigger company is actually manufacturing a unique or special material emulsion film stock for a smaller company. CATLABS claims that their 80 ISO stuff is a brand new coated / manufactured emulsion. So we can take that to mean that they have most likely just contacted somebody who has manufacturing capabilities for coating emulsion and for producing emulsion and are having a larger company produce something specifically for them. Kind of like how Japan Camera Hunter has Streetpan 400 manufactured just for them. They also state that this 80 ISO film is based on the look of Kodak's Panatomic X film. Panatomic X was a very famous black and white film that was discontinued by Kodak in the early 2000s. I never got to shoot Panatomic X, it was a little bit before my time, but it has a big legacy to it, and it's one of those films that a lot of people wish Kodak would actually bring back. So any claim of a film stock being kind of similar to Panatomic X does have a lot to live up to. So I developed this stuff myself in just some Kodak HC110, which is what I do for all the black and white roll review videos here, and I scanned this stuff on an Epson V700 flatbed scanner here myself at home. So your results of course may vary, but hopefully this gives you an idea of what this film is. With my Mamiya Universal, I get 8 shots off of a roll of 120 film. So I'm going to show them all to you and we'll take a look at it. CATLABS 80 comes in with a pretty deep contrast, which I'm usually a fan of with my black and white stuff. It's a sharp and fine-grained film, and a lot of film stocks shine in medium format in general because of its size, and CATLABS 80 is no different. Outdoor and bright light shooting with this stuff, I had no problem going handheld with it, even on the bulky Mamiya and the lower ISO. I kind of get the sense sometimes that there's a lot of people coming over from digital who are used to really high ISOs, and they might kind of stay away from ISOs below like 100. But if you are, then definitely branch out, because there's a world of incredible low ISO films out there, and you're limiting yourself if you're sticking to things that you're comfortable with from digital. I've got a solid contrast here with a great range of tones throughout the image. So it's like nice dark black areas and highlights in the whiter areas from it, but also a nice kind of range of grays in the images I've got as well. It's never super crushing in the scenes here. I also shot some Rolly 400 film on the same day, and that stuff has a much grittier look to it, and of course a much higher ISO in comparison, and I definitely prefer the smoother CATLABS stuff. It's hard to beat like a nice low ISO film in medium format or large format, because that stuff just looks incredible. Well, doing some research for this stuff, I was seeing sample shots that are much less contrasty sometimes, so you can probably aim aim for a flatter look with this stuff through developing, of course, if that's what you're after. It does respond well to some overexposure, and you could easily drop this to a 50 ISO as well, or pull it in the developing for some more shadow detail. However, there are lots of equally contrasty samples online as well. And Blue Moon Camera actually has a nice write-up on this film concerning some of its deeper characteristics, especially in relation to infrared. CATLABS 80 doesn't have any sort of deep infrared sensitivity, but you can get some interesting results using a red filter on your lens while shooting this stuff. I think my two favorite shots here are probably this one with the water coming down over the rocks, especially the light hitting the darker areas and the stream, along with all kind of the deep cracks and the intricacies in the different areas between the rocks. This film definitely captures that range of how the light is hitting it between those darker and those lighter areas really well. And this one, which reminds me a little bit of the movie WALL-E. The highlights on the viewers in the metal and the curves really stand out and look great on this shot as well. So overall, I think capturing a nice range of different lighting conditions and details across your images here is one of the big strengths of this film. So I'm gonna have to leave it up to those of you in the comments who have actually shot Panatomic X in the past to be able to compare it appropriately to the CATLAB stuff, because again, it's not a comparison that I can make in great detail, having not actually shot Panatomic X. I know that Panatomic X was a nice low 32 ISO, whereas its stuff is 80 ISO, and Panatomic X maybe had less intense contrast at times than CATLABs, but I'm interested to know exactly what Panatomic X was like and how it stands up against stocks that maybe try and emulate it. Here in Toronto, I paid $10 for a medium format roll of CATLABS 80, which is more expensive than Ilford's FP4, but cheaper than Kodak's Tri-X. So it's something that I wish maybe was a little bit cheaper, but also I'm shooting 6:9 medium format, which is definitely not the most economical way of shooting medium format at all, because I get 8 shots on a single roll, which means that each frame costs a good amount of money when you factor in developing and scanning and everything that goes along with it. Now the CATLABS 320 stuff is definitely something that I want to check out in the future as well, but currently, based on the information on the website, that film is actually coming out with a new version soon. So as of recording this video right now, at the end of May, it is not currently available. I've also read that some people, at least based on earlier forms of CATLABS 320, do believe that that stuff is just rebranded Kodak XX Cinema black and white film. But of course, I can't confirm that. And maybe they were originally doing that for some version of the 320 stuff, but they are coming out with a new version of it, so maybe they've sourced it from somewhere else. They're doing something a little bit different. So for all you medium format shooters out there, check this stuff out. It's always good, as I said, to have like a good variety of things and offerings. A nice fine grained sharp film always looks good on like the larger formats, of course. It is a film that I think I would like to check out in 4x5 at some point, because I think that fine grain and that nice contrast would make your images really, really shine in large format. Thank you guys so much for checking that out. I hope that you learned about CATLABS if you didn't know about CATLABS, and it's worth checking out, experimenting and learning more, of course, about how these films can kind of be tailored around your own shooting desires and preferences, and exactly how it can play with like different developers. But hopefully, in a broad sense, you've learned a little bit about CATLABS 80. And you can check the link in the description below for the Analog Resurgence Patreon and the P.O. Box. If you're interested in sending some stuff along, or if you can support the channel or you want to support the channel, it goes a long way. And also merch. There is merch for the channel as well. If you are a longtime viewer, if you're a newcomer, if you are interested at all in any of that stuff, you can find links in the description below. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.